Crayfish, also known as blue crayfish, Macrobrachium rosenbergi, is a large freshwater shrimp that lives in rivers, streams, and lakes. They have long and well-developed claws, especially in males, with a distinctive blue color. Crayfish are a nutritious food, widely raised in deltas and riverbanks. Crayfish trapping is usually done using nets, baskets, or light traps. Traps are usually set at night, when the shrimp are most active. The bait is usually the shrimp's favorite food, such as fish, meat, or mixed food. Crayfish fishing with cage traps on large boats of American fishermen is usually done in professional and planned steps. Here is the basic process. Large boat, usually a specialized seafood fishing boat, equipped with a crayfish compartment and a large working space. Cage traps. Cage traps are made of sturdy metal mesh, with trap doors for crayfish to enter but not escape. The size of the trap must be suitable for the size of the crayfish. Bait, usually small fish or seafood with a strong smell to attract crayfish into the trap. The bait is placed inside the cage, in a position so that the crayfish can easily access but cannot escape. Fishermen will release the traps in water areas of suitable depth, where there are many crayfish living. Crayfish often live in deep water and the seabed, so the traps will be lowered to the seabed with cables. The traps will be marked with buoys on the water surface for fishermen to easily monitor and collect. After a period of time, usually from a few hours to a few days, fishermen will return to collect the traps. The traps will be pulled onto the boat using a pulley system and tow rope. Fishermen will open the traps and take out the crayfish, then release the small ones that do not meet the standards. Preservation. After being caught, crayfish are kept in seawater tanks or cold boxes on the boat to ensure they are fresh when brought back to shore. Grading. Fishermen will sort crayfish by size and quality. And then bring them back to port for consumption. American fishermen often strictly follow government regulations on environmental protection and sustainable fishing, including catching crayfish of standard size and using methods that do not harm the environment. This is a popular method of catching crayfish using cage traps on large boats in the US, helping fishermen effectively exploit crayfish resources while still protecting the ecosystem. One of the important factors for success in catching crayfish is determining the location of the traps. American fishermen often use GPS and sonar systems, underwater positioning and detection devices help fishermen find places where crayfish live densely, usually in deep water or areas with rough seabeds. Experience and local knowledge. Longtime fishermen will have knowledge of crayfish gathering spots based on the seasons, currents, and water temperatures. Fishermen will schedule trap releases at the best times of day, depending on weather conditions, tides, and the crayfish's biological cycle. Regular inspections, although traps can be left in the water for several days. Regular inspections increase harvest potential and prevent damage from underwater predators, such as sharks or large crabs, destroying the traps. On large fishing boats, American fishermen often use an automatic trawling system, which lifts the traps onto the boat quickly and reduces labor. This system may include pullways and cranes, used to pull heavy cage traps up from the water. Automatic conveyor belts. Once the traps are pulled up, the crayfish are transferred to a conveyor belt for rapid processing. 10. Ensure occupational safety. Catching crayfish at sea is a rather dangerous job, especially in bad weather conditions or rough seas. Therefore, fishermen often wear protective gear. Life jackets, non-slip boots, and gloves are basic equipment. Safety skills training. Crew members are often trained in safety measures. Rescue and handling emergencies at sea. The crayfish fishing industry in the US places great emphasis on sustainability and protecting aquatic resources. Fishermen often have to comply with strict regulations such as catch quota, limiting the number of crayfish that can be caught on each trip, in order to protect resources for future generations. Minimum size, crayfish that are too small will be released back into the sea so they have a chance to reproduce and grow. Environmental monitoring. They can work with scientists and governments to monitor ecosystem health and ensure that fishing does not harm the marine environment. After catching, crayfish will be transported from the boat to the factories processing or wholesale markets. This process must be done quickly to ensure that the shrimp remain fresh. Live crayfish are often exported to international markets or sold in large restaurants and supermarkets in the US. The process of catching crayfish using cage traps on large boats by American fishermen not only requires professionalism and technique, but also must comply with strict regulations on environmental protection and sustainability in seafood exploitation. Crayfish catching depends largely on the spawning season and growth cycle of the crayfish species. In the US, crayfish are often caught during specific seasons, in accordance with their increased numbers. Spring and summer, this is usually the time when crayfish reproduce and grow rapidly. Therefore, fishermen can easily find them in warmer and more nutritious waters. Fishing holidays, to protect the species and ensure sustainability. Some areas in the US will impose fishing bans during the spawning months to ensure that the shrimp have time to grow and maintain their populations. The sea always has potential weather risks, especially for fishermen fishing far from shore. To ensure efficiency and safety, monitor weather forecasts. Fishermen regularly check weather forecasts to avoid storms or rough seas that can endanger the boat and crew. Onboard safety equipment. Every fishing vessel is equipped with life-saving equipment such as life buoys. Lifeboats, and emergency communication systems. Floodlights and signal lights are also used to easily find the vessel in low light conditions. Crayfishing is a highly profitable industry, but operating costs are not small. Fishermen must manage their finances to ensure profitability. Fuel costs, since boats often have to travel far from shore. Fuel accounts for a large portion of their expenses. Optimizing trips and positioning traps effectively will help reduce fuel costs. Boat and equipment maintenance, to ensure safety and high performance. Boats and fishing equipment need to be regularly maintained. The cost of this maintenance is also an important factor to manage. Operating a large fishing vessel requires the smooth cooperation of the entire crew. Crew members not only need skills at sea, but also need to be trained in equipment management, fishing techniques, and rescue at sea. Training in fishing techniques, crew members need to know how to operate cage traps, trawling systems, and how to handle crayfish after catching. Teamwork skills. At sea, people have to work together in harsh conditions. Communication and coordination skills are essential to ensure safety and efficiency. Rescue skills. In the event of an incident, every crew member needs to know rescue. Procedures, such as how to use a lifeboat or work with safety equipment. One of the important issues in the modern fishing industry is protecting the marine environment. Many American fishermen have actively participated in coral protection programs, limiting marine debris, and complying with fishing regulations. Reduce waste. Fishermen are encouraged not to litter or throw old fishing gear into the sea. To avoid harming the underwater ecosystem, work with scientists, Some fishermen work with scientists to collect data on crayfish numbers and marine environmental conditions, thereby helping to develop policies to protect sustainable resources. During the process of harvesting crayfish, some tools such as nets, traps, and ropes can be damaged due to collision with reefs or long-term use. Instead of throwing them away, fishermen tend to recycle and reuse them. Repairing traps. Instead of throwing away damaged traps, fishermen can repair them, reducing costs and waste. Recycling nets. Damaged nets can be recycled into other items or used to make new cages. Today, digital technology is widely applied in the crayfish fishing industry. Smart positioning systems, marine data analysis, and automation help improve efficiency. Real-time data analysis. Some large fishing boats are equipped with real-time marine environmental monitoring systems, which help identify potential fishing spots. Trap automation, automatic trap release and retrieval systems, along with crayfish sorting, help increase productivity and reduce crew labor. These modern trends and techniques not only make the US crawfish industry more efficient, but also help protect the environment and ensure future seafood resources. Another factor fishermen need to consider when fishing for crayfish is biological risks, especially the spread of exotic or diseased crayfish species, which can harm native ecosystems and reduce the quality of the product. Measures taken include controlling invasive species. In some areas, exotic crayfish species can deplete resources or endanger native species. Fishers need to identify these species correctly and work with local authorities to prevent their spread. Health checks. Before bringing crayfish ashore, fishermen often check for signs of disease or parasites. Unhealthy crayfish are properly disposed of to prevent the spread of disease into the wild. The US crayfish industry is not only focused on domestic consumption, but also has a large share of the international export market. To meet this demand, fishermen must adhere to strict quality standards and international regulations. Export standards. Markets such as Europe and Asia require crayfish to meet high-quality standards for freshness, food safety, and traceability. This requires US fishermen to invest in post-harvest preservation and careful packaging. International cooperation. Many US fishermen and fishing organizations collaborate with international partners to share knowledge. techniques, and market information. This helps them better understand global market needs and how to respond effectively, in an effort to reduce pressure from overfishing and protect the environment. Some US fishermen are combining crayfish farming with wild-caught fishing. These farming systems are often developed in a sustainable manner and do not harm the marine ecosystem. Crayfish farming in tanks. Artificial crayfish farming facilities use tanks or ponds filled with seawater to control the growing environment, ensuring quality and a continuous supply. Combining farming and wild catching. Some fishermen choose to combine wild-caught shrimp fishing with farming to increase productivity while still protecting wild fish stocks. To ensure that marine resources are protected, American fishermen are often required to comply with regulations on fishing water monitoring. Governments and non-profit organizations regularly monitor and manage marine areas, ensuring that fishermen do not violate environmental regulations. Satellite monitoring. Large fishing vessels may be equipped with satellite systems to monitor fishing activities and ensure that they do not violate restricted or protected areas. Marine conservation. Some marine areas important to crayfish spawning are designated protected areas, where fishing activities are prohibited or restricted to protect the marine ecosystem. With the growing demand for crayfish in the market, fishermen and fishing companies are working to promote sustainable consumption, emphasizing the protection of the environment and marine resources. Sustainability certification. Several international organizations such as the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, certify seafood products that are sustainably harvested. American fishermen who achieve this certification will have a great competitive advantage in the international market. Consumer education. Educational campaigns are organized to help consumers understand the origins of crayfish and how they can contribute to environmental protection by choosing sustainable seafood products. The crayfish industry in the US is not only focused on profit but also on improving the quality of life for fishermen and coastal communities. The government and non-governmental organizations have implemented many programs to provide financial support, technical training, and improve working conditions for fishermen. Financial assistance. Fishermen can receive loans or grants to purchase modern boats and equipment, which can help improve productivity and reduce the workload. Training programs help fishermen learn new skills. from more efficient fishing techniques to financial and business management, to help them run their operations professionally. With the development of technology and increasing awareness of environmental protection, the crayfish fishing industry in the US is changing dramatically. In the future, more advanced technologies and sustainable initiatives are likely to be applied to optimize the process and ensure long-term sustainability. Some companies are experimenting with using robots and AI in the fishing process. From automating traps to monitoring the health of crayfish. Expanding sustainable farming, the combination of artificial farming and wild fishing could become a major trend in the future, helping to reduce pressure on natural resources.